Hi and welcome to today's video where I'm going to talk you through how to answer an NCEA exam question which looks at equilibrium constant expressions and solubility. So calculating Ks from solubility from Ks in this example. This is from the 2019 NCEA paper. It is question 1A. So this is a very common place for NCEA questions to start. And first you can see the first part of the question is simply asking you to write the equation for the equilibrium occurring. So all they want is the idea that you've got zinc hydroxide. Now I'm putting in state symbols. They're not usually required, but I always like to put them in just in case they decide to get really picky one year. Breaking up into zinc ions and hydroxide ions. Beautiful. And the next part of it is to write the expression for Ks. Right, so we know that Ks is equal to the concentration of the zinc ions times by the concentration of the hydroxide ions squared. And it's quite that simple. Now usually that either one or other or sometimes both is required for an achieved point. Exactly what the requirements are in any given year is going to depend on how difficult the paper is overall. So sometimes it might be just one of the two, sometimes it might be both. The next part of the question is to calculate the solubility of zinc hydroxide in water and give the zinc 2 plus and hydroxide ion concentrations in the solution. Now you could, and I actually would recommend that you do this, I'm just not going to write it all down. I recommend that you go, okay, well let's let zinc, the concentration of zinc 2 plus be S and the concentration of hydroxide be 2S. But you could jump straight to the formula which is on your formula sheet, which says Ks equals 4S cubed. Therefore, S equals the cubed root of Ks divide 4. Cubed root. Okay, you could jump straight to that in this case. Just be aware that you know what you're doing. Okay, in this case then if we go to that point, then S is equal to the cubed root of 3.80 times 10 to the minus 17 divide by 4, which when you put that into your calculator correctly and accurately will give you an answer of 2.12 times 10 to the minus 6 mole per litre. Now that is not what the question is actually asking, however. The question is asking you to give the concentrations of zinc 2 plus. So you've done part of it, you've calculated the solubility at this point, but you also have to give the concentrations of zinc 2 plus and hydroxide in the water. So we know that zinc is equal to S, so that is 2.12 times 10 to the minus 6 mole per litre, and hydroxide we know is 2S, so that is going to be equal to 4.24 times 10 to the minus 6 mole per litre. Now, two things to note about this. First one is that I have units on everything. And the second thing is that I have rounded it all to 3 significant figures. And these are general requirements for NCEA. And we will stick with 3 significant figures because you can see that the Ks value there is written to 3 significant figures. So it would make sense for the answers to also be in 3 significant figures. I hope you found this calculation useful. This second calculation would usually be equivalent to a merit point in the marking scheme. So, you know, you've got an achieved point and a merit point for how long did it take me? 4.5 minutes, and that was with talking through the answer. It's not that time consuming and it's not that hard. Alright, I will see you in the next video.